So if you've not seen this sort of section on my channel, sort of doing it fairly regularly, sort of every other week on a Friday, getting a guest on, chatting about any sort of film topics that we have sort of in common, or maybe some differences on. We've had Rich Cora on, and we've had Becca's Bad at Games. Pardon me, and we spoke about sort of political film with Rich Cora and the sort of the MCU longevity, and then Becca last 2 weeks ago we spoke about horror films, but sort of the modern horrors, and sort of, I guess, sort of the themes they touch upon and the sort of progression within horror. And we're going to do something within that sort of category this evening with husband, talking about horror, but a different element of that. So hopefully it's something still fresh and interesting for people to listen to. And it ends, you offer up the amulet of Yendor to your god on the astral plane and gain a sentence. That just sounds like any sort of generic fantasy thing, I'm not going to lie. That could be Lord of the Rings for all I know. Some kind of fantasy thing. I have seen Lord of the Rings before we start questioning that, but I have. But I could only do a section like this on Jason Statham films. This is my expertise. I think the only film I've seen Jason Statham in is that one where they play football in prison. I can't remember. It's pretty generic. Okay, it's not just me then. Okay, excellent. Right. Shall we bring our guest in? That's when everyone says yes. Okay. Right, I'm going to bring in husband. Where have you gone? There you are. Right. Unmuted you. This up on there. Right. There we are.
Hello.
There he is.
Bonjour.
There he is. Hello. Welcome on in.
Yes, I feel like I should bow in the presence of a queen, but I won't. I've got a bad back, so I'll just sit, if that's okay.
Yeah. No, that's fine. That's fine. You can take a seat around the Majesty.
Good.
That's fine.
Good. That's fine. Good to know.
But how are you doing, husband? Hope you're doing well.
I am well. Yes, I finished a week at work, and I have you slightly over here, and my camera slightly over here, so I'm kind of going to be doing a bit of whiplash. Kind of not knowing where to look, but
that's fine.
Hey, I'm an amateur at this, so I'm sure I'll find it. I'm sure we'll get there together.
Brilliant. That's fine.
Hold my hands.
So a lot of people will know who you are, husband. You're not a streamer, but you float around in people's sort of Twitch chats and stuff, Discords and stuff. And I think alongside us two, there's other people that talk about films. Like, I feel like the chat always goes in like the direction of films, and I'm not saying we're bad influences, but I feel like that's how I sort of knew that you were interested in film. Like, we sort of it would always come up in chats.
Yeah, I think we like so I'm not a Twitch streamer, and I would never pretend to be or claim to be, but I suppose I'm Twitch adjacent. I'm streamer adjacent because my lovely wife streams, and I float around in chats and things like that. And you and I, Queen, have of course chatted a lot about various movies and things like that, and always kind of, I think, getting on at each other about the ones we haven't seen. I think it's not something we specialize in. It's like, I haven't seen that, and you're like, well, you should watch it, and I'm like, oh, well, you haven't seen this, and you should watch that. And I enjoy that. I like the repartee that we have. It's the back and forth. It's quite good. So yes, no, I'm not a streamer, but I am a watcher, you could say, of this channel and more. And yes, also lovely finally Craig, who I know you were talking to earlier, who incidentally makes a lovely barbecue, as well as a lovely stream.
When you say makes a barbecue, is that like the physical metal, or do you mean like?
Constructs barbecues with poise and dexterity, digital dexterity. No, he's a master griller, you could say, a master griller.
Careful how you say that one.
Yeah. I thought I had a double take there. I'm not going to lie about
Yeah, brilliant. Welcome in on Becca. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Talking things horror, so I'm sure that will pique your interest this week. Yes. But do you want to just give people a bit of an intro, sort of like your film taste as a whole, husband?
Okay. So, my one of the pupils that I teach, because I'm a teacher, one of the pupils that I teach once described my fashion sense as being like a vampire at a funeral, and I think that kind of sums up my artistic taste as well. Much like Becca, who you were speaking to last time, like if it's macabre or bloody or dark and gloomy, then it's kind of my bread and butter, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose when I was a kid, it was all lots of fantasy movies and things like that, and lots of fantasy movies that scared me. You know, like Neverending Story, Dark Crystal,
Mm.
Beastmaster, Excalibur. You know, and they always had this kind of slightly dark edge to them. They were always kind of slightly edged, so I think that that piqued in me this kind of interest in things that were more, as I say, macabre. I know a guy who says macabre.
Macabre?
That's not it.
No.
Yeah, yeah. Paul Macabre, and yeah, pretty, just kind of slightly darker things. I remember an episode once of Art Attack. Do you remember Art Attack, the TV
Yeah.
show?
Neil Buchanan.
Right, with Neil Buchanan, who he used to do giant art attacks. You'll remember
Hmm.
where he would get like fucking 20 packets of pasta and draw a big kind of Italian kind of restaurant or something like that, right? He was on a black sort of vinyl floor, and he had nothing but a salt shaker that was like
Yeah.
full of like a million gallons of salt, right? And he's going around, he's drawing this picture, and I'm a kid just watching it at my grand's house, like, what's Neil up to this week? What's the kind of hijinks and merry japery is he doing? And as I watch, I realise halfway through the art attack what he's doing, and he's using the salt on the black sort of canvas to make this drawing of a vampire.
Mm.
And the second my 7-year-old brain realised this was a vampire, I shat. I was so excited. I just could not. I was like, oh my God, it's a vampire, it's a vampire, it's a vampire. And I realized, I was like, why is that the thing that excited me? You know, of all the things that Art Attack, I was like, I don't care, I'm not interested. And I saw this thing. And that's when I realized, right, I like this. I
Yeah.
like this scary sort of thing. And then from then on, I just sort of pursued it and
Mhm.
traumatized myself on several occasions.
Excellent. So I think that gives us a bit of a clue into terms of obviously the sort of genre that we're talking about today, of what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Sort of talking about horror is a sort of
Uh-huh.
overarching theme. But when I sort of had discussions with yourself, we're thinking like, what kind of area can we delve in? Obviously, I spoke with Becca last week, the week before that, about modern horror. And I guess you could intertwine it a little bit with that. But we sort of had the suggestion of the sort of topic about sort of horror movie comebacks, horror movie sort of remakes, and the sort of the need for remaking them or reimagining them,
Yeah.
sort of for modern
Talked about-
times.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about and even like the hiatus between sequels, I think was something that you had mentioned,
Mhm.
like Candyman, I suppose, /
Yeah.
sequels. Not really sure. And Halloween, long time between sequels. So yeah, no, I thought it was it sounded like a spiffing good time.
So yeah, so I guess it's going to all sort of merge a bit because we sort of said about comebacks / sort of remakes as a whole, but I guess that line might blur a little. So I guess yeah, it's obviously it could be a remake, could be a reimagining. I think a lot of horrors specifically they look at the original, try and give you those elements, or it's a straight up remake, or it's a straight up like new version. Here's a world that you like, let's make that again. So when I sort of was thinking about sort of remakes and comebacks so far, films that came to mind that have they've had both parts out. We've got the Evil Dead sort of franchise, The Craft, It, the sort of TV series, then sort of the film, The Exorcist TV show, which I know you're a fan of.
Oh, hello. Yes. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah. I mean, there's so many, and like remakes and things like that, get obviously a hard time. A lot of them are quite poor. But the thing that kind of interested me is this as a sort of topic is the horror sequel / remake things that I know aren't out yet but are coming. And I think that's very exciting. So, I know one of the films that you watched quite recently, Queen, and that I am borderline obsessed with. I've got it twice on Blu-ray, rather, twice on Blu-ray. And that, my lovely wife, MJ's been like, we'll throw one of these out. I'm like, if you throw that out, the divorce will come swiftly and painfully. Okay. So, no, I mean, I'm kind of mad about Hellraiser, which is one of the ones, as I say, you watched the other week. And that's one that's got an HBO series coming out and a film reboot / long-term sequel coming out. And recently, Dead by Daylight, the video game, which has all things sort of horror in it, has just announced a Hellraiser thing for it. And, a couple of years ago, Hellraiser wasn't part of the zeitgeist. and now it suddenly seems like it's frothing to the surface again.
Yeah.
And so I would be interested to ask you, actually, you watched Hellraiser for the first time, I think, this week. What
Yeah.
did you think of it? I love it, but I wonder what you think of it as someone who's just seen it.
Well, I had no idea about this film sort of going into it. I knew I'd seen images of like Pinhead, but I thought that person's Hellraiser, but I guess it's not really. But sort of going into it, watching it, setting up the tone and stuff, it felt, even though it's before Candyman, it had Candyman vibes, and also Nightmare on Elm Street were like the closest two I could compare it with.
It's
Um,
funny you should. It's funny you should say that.
oh, really?
That it had connotations and similarities to Candyman, and that's because they are both based on one a short story, one a novella by the same writer,
Oh,
which
see, I
is
didn't.
interesting.
I've not looked up anything about the sort of
Yeah,
the sort of the
right,
world. So
cool.
that's cool. That's a link. That's brilliant.
It's
Um,
interesting that you pick up on that. That's very cool. Very perceptive. That's why you work in film, my dear. That's why
well,
you know this stuff.
but yeah, no, I liked it because I didn't know what to expect. I really didn't know. I thought it was just going to be this sort of this villainous character, just I don't know, reclaiming souls or whatever. But then I was really surprised to see it was sort of led by this woman who was,
Yeah,
she was very much, an adulterer and had this other life and stuff. And I was like, first off, that's pretty badass for like the 80s and stuff. I was
yeah,
like, that's pretty cool.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so I liked that element. And then the daughter of the guy, I'm not going to know character's name, so I'm sorry, but the young girl,
I know them. I know that their middle names and their confirmation names, so it's fine.
the
Like,
star signs, everything.
yeah, that's that. Yeah, totally, totally.
Yeah,
Um,
so she gave me the sort of, well, at least the first Nightmare on Elm Street kind of vibe, and sort of the
mm,
mystery
mm.
element of it. I guess Candyman has that as well.
Yeah, it
Um,
does. It does. It does. Yeah.
so yeah, I don't know. It was just, I think because I think a lot of my sort of view on horror has been so diluted with like modern horror that jump scares and all this.
Mm,
So that when I go
mm,
back and watch these sort of classics such as Candyman, Hellraiser, I'm really pleasantly surprised by the characterization, and the sort
mhm.
of, I guess, what then would have not have been, because there's like nudity in it. There's a strong, powerful woman. There's all these sort
Mhm.
of things that which we know just
Yeah,
become tropes and stuff. But
yeah, it's really disarming. It's really disarming film for people who don't who haven't seen it. I will probably end up spoiling things. I suppose a wee bit
yes,
about all the films we'll talk about. There'll be some sort of spoilers, I suppose. But for those who haven't seen it and don't know, it's like Hellraiser's like a soap opera with
mm,
necromancy in it. It's just a simple sort of story of this hedonistic guy who sort of seduces slash has an affair with his brother's fiance, and because he's such a crazy hedonist, through no fault of his own, is sucked through a portal into hell.
hmm
And Julia, the strong female with whom he's had this sort of premarital affair, she realizes that if she spills human blood in the attic where he was sucked into hell, she can reanimate him piece by piece. It's a very, very, well,
mm,
one of my friends many years ago described it as a gooey film, and it's
mm,
certainly very, very gooey. And so the original idea was, not to have this demon with lots of pins in his head be the main sort of horror
mm,
villain moving forward with sequels and comics and whatever it would be. The plan was to have Julia, this adulterer,
mm.
this
Yes.
strong, really ice cold woman who's willing to kill man after man after man in this attic to slowly
Mm.
reanimate corpse of her lover. And she is the main one of the main villains in this in the sequel, which is great as
Oh,
well.
okay.
But
Yeah, I've
then they
not got into
dropped
that.
her. Yeah, it's worth a watch, definitely. They dropped her in favor of the character Pinhead with the nails in
Oh,
his
okay.
head. Interestingly enough, when the film was first kind of written and conceived and being pitched to New Line Cinema, but way back in the 80s, the writer Clive Barker, who wrote the novel, was also the director, and the producers were like, oh, this sounds great. You got these guys, guys getting murdered, and you got blood, and you got guts, and you got reanimation, and you got sex, and you got, it's great. What's it called? And Clive Barker said it's called Sadomasochists from Beyond the Grave.
Mm.
To which point the producers went, what? What? So they had this big argument about what they were actually even going to call the film. And one of the makeup ladies on set, apparently, had an idea for the name of the film, and because it was about this woman, Julia, killing men to reanimate her lover, she said, I think the film should be called The Lengths One Woman Will Go to Get a Good Fuck, which is very rude, very rude. But it basically encapsulates the entire film,
Yeah,
basically.
I guess,
Yeah.
yeah, it does. Yeah. I thought you were going to say Reanimator. I was like, oh, okay. They got
I hardly know her. Well, that's obviously Reanimator is another film which has
yeah.
had a long sort of people are saying, oh, there'll be a sequel to that one day, and it's never another sequel and it's never
Yeah.
emerged.
Yeah.
But no, so Hellraiser HBO series and another film. There's lots of comics and stuff like that of it. I personally absolutely adore it. I think it's great. But I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you enjoyed.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. Because it's something that you love so much, are you happy for it to be sort of keep being reimagined? Or would you rather I like this particular
I am.
one?
I'm not a purist. I'm not a purist of any of these things because the way I don't know what people like Becca, for example, who's a horror expert and a horror fanatic like myself would say. But the way I see it is that original film, like whether it's Hellraiser, whether it's the original Alien, whether it's the original Nightmare on Elm Street, or even Psycho, which has had multiple sequels, that first film will always exist.
Yeah.
In all its glory. And if you want to just watch that on its own one night, watch it. You're not honor bound to any sequels. And I know certain sequels can come along and retcon things which might ruin and sully stories. I'm thinking just now of the new Don't Breathe movie, which I think does a kind of very grotesque thing with one of its characters, which we might talk about later. But I think, these things are fine. And Hellraiser's got mountains of sequels, which are mostly awful, but I enjoy all of them. Blunderboy, for example, from the Nearly Men, he enjoys all of them as well. And both of us have a real soft spot for one of the worst ones, which is called Hellworld, which is Hellraiser on the internet. And starring a very young, very pre-fame Henry Cavill.
Oh, okay.
Who gets beheaded in it. So if you'd like to see a very young, very pre-Tudors, pre-Immortals, pre-Witcher, pre-Superman, Henry Cavill, Hellraiser, Hellworld, you can probably pick it up for like 90 pence somewhere. You'll have a great time. Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant.
So no, I don't mind reiterations and sequels and reimaginings. Just give me more Hellraiser. It's like when your favorite band brings out a new album. They're not all going to be gold, but let's have at it. Let's see.
Yeah.
What do you think? Are you a similar opinion or?
I'm trying to think if there's something similar where I'm so passionate about a sort of film or characters or something. If there is.
Well, let me pose you one. What if they said to you that they're going to reboot Harry Potter with completely different actors? And just start again, like.
I don't know. I mean, a good example I'll tell you is I don't know if you watched it, the Sabrina Netflix series. Sabrina was something that
tiny bit, yeah.
Sabrina was something I watched when I was younger. I was probably a little bit too young to watch it, but it was very light-hearted. It's almost like a sitcom. It's a puppet cat, and then Netflix a couple of years ago brought out their own sort of version of it, and it's so much tonally darker. And I really liked it, and I think it got cancelled after 3 seasons. But something like that has the nostalgia behind it from when you were younger. I was pleasantly surprised, definitely, with that as a sort of TV series. But I guess
well, there you go.
It's making it inaccessible for some people. But then again, like kids might watch it, but I think it's like a 15. So it's just a different target market because it's for people who have grown up at least with some knowledge of it.
And again, that original Sabrina with Melissa Joan Hart, I think it is, is always going to be there. That's always, if your kids can go watch that, and it's great, and it's super fun, and Salem the Cat's fantastic, and you don't need to watch them being like, Satan worshipping, cannibals or whatever it is they are in the new show. I've only seen a bit of it. So
you've got it pretty right, yeah.
Great.
The Devil's in it. Who else is in it? Michelle Gomez is in it. I'm sure.
Oh, she's good.
Yeah, she's really good in it.
Yeah.
So I would recommend it in terms of a reimagining, I'll say, of sort of a childhood TV show. Sort of in that list that I mentioned about sort of, I guess they've had their remakes, was the Evil Dead series, which is something that I've only recently been aware of this week. In this week I've watched Evil Dead 2, which in itself is a remake of its original sort of lower budget one, which I've yet to see. Mimi Cattails, thank you very much for the bits. Welcome on in.
Oh, hello, Mimi. Hello.
Husband invaded the MJ room. Yes, he did.
I did. I have annexed it in the name of husband. This is now Husbandtopia. We'll be removing things like this. This will be
Mm,
going. We'll be
get him
replacing it with
out.
more. Yes, replacing it with more skulls, etc.
Where was I saying?
You
Evil
were talking
Dead.
about the Evil Dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Evil Dead 2, watched that one, bypassed the first one under your recommendation, and then I watched the 2013 remake, guess, kind of continuation
Yeah,
of
it's
that
weird.
one.
It kind of blurs the line, which I think is interestingly what Candyman will do. I think Candyman will. A lot of people saying, "Oh, it's a reboot, it's a reboot, it's a reboot." I don't think so. I'm going to put money on this. I've got a few fan theories, which I'm
Yep.
sure I'll espouse at some point. But what did you think of the 2013 one? I'd be curious because they're very tonally very different, aren't they? The
Mm.
original Evil Dead 2 is really quite almost like a really great piece of slapstick comedy, I
Oh
think,
yeah, yeah,
and the
definitely.
13 is gnarly.
I think it's very, from what I've seen and like reviews and stuff of people that I trust their opinion on things. It seems very Marmite, the 2013 one. I
Yeah.
personally didn't really like it because it felt, I guess the time it came out was very, it felt like not every other horror, but it had those sort of, oh, let's use CGI, let's use like just the dark tone. I
Yeah,
preferred
and
the,
there are scenes, you're even right, taken from almost wholesale from other movies. There's a
yeah,
great scene in the movie The Raid, if you've maybe seen that, the action
nope,
movie
not
where
seeing it.
the main character is hiding in a wall from this gang and they've got a machete and they stab it through the hollow wall
Oh
and like the
yeah,
blade
with the
goes
knife,
chink
they did
and then
that,
it goes
yeah.
chink and it cuts him on the face and then they do that exact scene in Evil Dead to
Hmm.
far less greater effect. So I totally agree that it's, even though I like it, I agree that it does a lot of what was going on in 2013 and doesn't necessarily do it very well. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I think it generally lacks a lot of originality. But what I liked most about it was the sort of the nods back to Evil Dead. You know, the sort of the
Mhm.
blood, that like obscene amount of like
Yeah,
projectile blood. Like the phrases like before, like they just like cut open
Mhm.
these demons, like trying to make a catchphrase. I liked those moments, but then again, that didn't really match tonally with the film that it was trying to be. Um,
yeah,
I thought it was
yeah.
okay. I thought the characterization was better. It gave the characters a
True,
reason to be there for
true.
that
Yeah,
woman.
yeah. Unlike Evil Dead 2, it has characters. Evil Dead 2 doesn't really have characters. It's got people in this
Mm,
cabin. And again, there's this whole thing in so many horror movies. Why don't you go and get help? Or there's a convoluted reason for why you don't. But in the Evil Dead remake, of course, she's trying to kick like heroin. And
mm,
so she's going cold turkey out in the woods. And I thought that was quite an inventive take on, she can hear voices, she can see things. Everyone's like,
yeah.
she's just tripping. It's fine. We'll get over it. Interestingly enough, that there was talk for a long time, Queen, of there being a sequel to the 2013 Evil Dead. So Evil Dead
Mm,
2.2, I don't know what you call it.
tutu.
And the girl who plays, I think Mia is the main character's name in
Hmm.
Evil Dead 2013. She was like, that shoot was the most grueling thing I ever went through, and she never really mentioned why it was such a hard shoot. I mean, I think, first of all, the makeup is exhausting. The
The
the night shoots,
physicality of it all.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, absolutely right, is really demanding. But recently, she came out and discussed why, and I'd be interested what you think of this as someone who like works in film and works in
Mm,
TV and has shot with lots of actors doing lots of different and directors doing things in very different ways, right? So she was in Evil Dead, made by Fede Alvarez, I think that's his
hmm.
name, and Don't Breathe, made by Fede Alvarez,
Not
within
seen it,
short
but
periods
yeah, I did
of
know
time.
he did that. Yeah.
Aye, so she didn't come back for the Don't Breathe sequel, and it's because apparently what Fede Alvarez does to get reactions out of actors to really make them flinch and really make them jump and really make them stressed out is he'll say to them, "Okay, so in this scene, you go from your mark there, point A, down the hall to point B, and on your left hand side, that's where the monster's going to jump out on you." React, whatever else, right? I'm not a director. I don't fucking know what they say, but it's basically that's the long and short of what you
Yeah.
do. So he'll then you say action, and the character will walk from point A down to point B, and he'll go cut. No, that's not what I told you to do. I'm like, yeah, go from point A to point B. Guy comes out on the right. That's it. Take two, right? And they do it again and again. It's cut. You did it wrong. And they're like, no, but you're not, this is what you told me to do. And they do it like 3 or 4 times until eventually they go from point A to point B. And then they say, the guy's going to come out on the right, and he jumps out on the left. And this apparently gets these great reactions. So he says, and the character, the actress who plays Mia, whose name I can't remember, she's in the American version of Shameless. People might well know who she is. Young, gorgeous, fantastic actor. And she was just like, fuck that. Like, I'm a professional. I can act. I don't need to like live in this bizarre world that you're creating. Just tell me to go from A to B. Trust me, I can act a monster appearing. And it's telling when actors don't work with these directors again. You know, do you think, as someone who works with, you know, directors and actors more frequently, is that okay? Is that bad? I'll be interested to see what you think of that sort of.
I mean, it's hard to say, like, because with the sort of projects and stuff that I've worked on are not horror films by any sense, but I don't know. Servant of Hope, and I did film. I filmed a horror board game, not this Monday, the Monday before. So that's kind of totally right. But I guess, I mean, from my perspective, like, for what I've witnessed at least, everyone is always sort of trusting and honest, not giving you like this unpredictability. I mean, someone might request that, but surely you would have had that discussion previously, not sort of, you know, these actors where you're making them, they're in a vulnerable space, like, it seems bizarre personally. I mean, she's obviously in her right to say, obviously, if that made her feel.
And I mean, there are some examples I can think of in horror cinema where that approach, okay, it does yield good results. Like in Alien, for example, Ridley Scott would tell one of the male actors on set, he's like, right, talk over Sigourney Weaver. In this scene, when you know, the alien's out there, talk over her. It's not in the script. She doesn't know about it. Talk over her, wind her up, wind her up, wind her up. And it does lead to this really great explosive moment on the camera. William Friedkin, director of The Exorcist, did this thing, which I think is batshit, right? I'd love to know what people think about this. He was filming a scene with the actor who plays Damien Karras, the priest who's dealing with this bloody demon. And says to him, right, sit in the chair. The phone's going to ring and you're going to get a fright. Okay, it's what they call a Luton bus in horror cinema, I believe. They say it's a non-threatening jump scare, right? The phone's going to fucking ring, right? So sit down there and we'll go for it, right? And he says, I'm not going to tell you when it's going to ring though. It's just going to ring. So we could wait here for 5 minutes. We could wait for 30 seconds, and that's okay, fine, right? So far, I'm with him. So far, I'm like, William, you do your thing. So the actor sits there. A couple of minutes pass. Phone doesn't ring. Getting in the zone. 5 minutes, nothing. 10 minutes, nothing. Like some 15 minutes, 20 minutes go past. William Friedkin comes up behind the actor with a shotgun and fires a blank shotgun shell behind his head. And the actor just kind of, this fucking, like, he got apoplectic with like, what the fuck? And he's like, yeah, it worked. I got a great result. Like, what are you complaining about? And I think the actor did get nominated for an Oscar, but it's a bit.
At what cost? Probably death in Monia, heart attack.
Death in Monia, heart attack, aneurysm, you know, they're terrible, yeah. So I can see why some of these actors don't return for these sequels, reboot, and stuff. And I remember Brett Spiner, who plays Data in Star Trek: Next Generation, he said, I'll definitely come back to Star Trek if you give me enough money.
He's honest.
Yeah, he's honest about it, you know, but there we go.
That's interesting. I just want to see what a few people have been chatting whilst we were speaking about Evil Dead in particular. Also, hello, welcome in Wongo, Captain Crimp, hello. And MJ Plays Games, welcome on in. Becca says, I think that Evil Dead 2013 has had a better reason for being a cabin in the middle of the wood of nowhere than any other film. I think it had an unfortunate timing of coming out after Cabin in the Woods, which really deconstructed those kind of... Yeah, because that was 2012, wasn't it, I think?
Yeah, I think Cabin it's like a year later. But to be fair, I agree with Becca insofar as Cabin in the Woods is a great deconstruction of that kind of film. I think Evil Dead is a great construction of that film. I think it does its thing quite well. Even though it's derivative, it does it quite well. So I agree with Becca on that one. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's fair. Crimp says, David Harbour loves the method of causing strife on the set to make scenes more believable. I guess him and Winona would have had a row before shooting. Oh, okay. Don't really know much about David Harbour's techniques, to be honest.
No, neither did I. I've only seen him in like a handful of things, and I know my wife MJ has very strong opinions on, you know, the way actors handle themselves on set, the
Hmm.
way directors approach actors on set, you know, and I think it's interesting. Like I think it's cool when an actor's exciting and does like really unusual things and it leads to great scenes, but at the end of the day, you know, you've gotta be. It's a
Hmm.
workplace. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? I
it's a
can't fire
job.
a
Yeah.
shot. I can't fire a shotgun behind Katrina, who works in the office in my school. As much as I might want to give her a big fright, I can't do it because I will get fired.
Of
William
course.
Friedkin should approach his film sets like their staff rooms
Exactly
or
the same.
clerical offices.
And do
Maybe not.
a risk assessment as well of the area before
Bloody well, hope so.
doing
Yes.
that. Um,
Yes.
and just says pretty sure he also slapped an actor in The Exorcist too.
Yeah, not even an actor. In Exorcist One, there's an actor. The Exorcist One uses lots of non-actors. It uses lots of actual priests
Oh,
in the
okay.
scenes,
Didn't
which I
know that.
suppose kind of makes sense because the liturgical, you know, minutia of being a priest and doing an exorcism. There's lots of wee things that's
Mm,
an
that they
actor
would
might, you
know.
know,
Only they would know.
they would only they would know, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And there's a scene at the end where famously a character falls down some stairs and is dead, and the priest has to react to his death. And William
Hmm.
Friedkin's like, nah, shit, take two, take three, take four, take five. I really, you need more emotion. And the guy's like, I'm not an actor, I'm a priest. And Friedkin said to him, do you trust me? To the priest. That's when someone says that to you, your answer should always be no. So he's like, do you trust me? And the priest goes, yeah, Bill, I guess so. And
Bill.
Friedkin just slaps him across the face like as hard as he possibly can. And the guy's visibly really shaking. He goes, action, and runs out of shot. And they get this great shot of the guy like shaking, but again, that's
Mm.
like, you know, you couldn't slap someone on your in your work, Queen, could you?
I could, but like you said, I probably wouldn't have a job the next day, to be
Yes.
honest. So,
Yeah. Do it on the last day. Do it before you hand your notice
yeah,
in. That's
exactly.
absolutely right.
Exactly. That's what I'll do. Hello, Retrocora. Welcome on in. He says, slap assist. Slaps assist. Get out.
Shay,
Leave.
get to mass. Slaps assist.
Go and.
He's got a good one coming. Cora has a good one coming. I can feel it in my bones.
Mm, mm,
I
yeah,
can
he
feel it in the
does.
water. Yeah,
Feel it in his water. Aye.
feel it in the water.
Right. So what else? I was getting sidetracked with that one. But yeah, so that sort of covered the sort of the films that I sort of briefly mentioned in terms of that have had their sort of remakes in it as well. I guess the film we didn't speak about on that list was It. Are you a fan of Stephen King's It world?
It's a weird one. It's a weird one. It's one of the few
What a
ones that he's
pun.
like it's a weird one. Yeah. I've read the source material for Hellraiser, which is the novella the Hellbound Heart. I've read the source material for Candyman, which is the Forbidden, which is I think it's not in the Books of Blood, but it's like it'll be a short story in some collection somewhere.
Yeah.
I've not read a whole lot of Stephen King, despite the fact that I try to rip him off any chance I get whenever I write for a hobby. And I had seen the Tim Curry version of It, which again is one of these things that as a child just
Terrifying.
terrified me. It was in the Radio Times. Because I'm a Tory, my family would often buy a Radio Times television magazine. And at the
Weekly.
one, yeah, weekly. Oh, aye. Oh,
We just
aye.
get it
Aye.
at Christmas. That's it.
Exactly. No, 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 no. That's an amateur. No, no, no. Amateur. That's you're not a real Tory if you do that. You know, you probably had a TV Times.
Mm,
But my mum and dad would always get Radio Times. And on Channel 4 one night back in the day, fucking hell, it was on. And they had this huge photograph of Tim Curry as it in this field. And it just ruined my life. It was
mm,
just horrifying to the point where I was so scared to watch it. I didn't watch it until I think I was about 20. Um, and I actually thought it wasn't that great. Like it's like a miniseries, so it's like 3.5
yeah.
hours long.
Yeah.
It's not that it's dated probably.
Mm,
So when I saw it, I remember saying to myself, "This is ripe a remake. This would
mm,
be really well if we remade it today." And I think it chapter one is a fantastic adventure film.
yep.
It's not really a horror film. It's horror light, but it feels like the Goonies or one of these
Mm,
things. E.T. maybe it kind of owes a lot to that. It's coming of age, kind of sweeping, but quite earthy tale of what it is to be young and have invisible predators all around you. We've all been that child who's just scared of the bully, scared of whatever the thing
yeah.
that it manifests itself as. I think two is grotesquely awful. I think any film where the monster, this subversive, almost to me, the character of it feels like a phobia you didn't know you had. You know, like I'm
Mm,
not scared of clowns. I'm not scared of spiders. I am scared of moderate heights. But he feels like, oh God, I never knew I didn't like this. This is just, oh, he's horrible. And then he turns into a big giant lobster at the end, and you're like, oh,
mm,
I'm not scared of giant lobsters.
nah,
Sorry, nah, you've shat the bed there.
yeah.
So no, and I think it's got a pretty homophobic beginning. Uh, in insofar as it adheres to tropes where gay characters and these things are never allowed to be happy.
Mm,
Um, I think it's just and the de-aging of the children doesn't work. They should have shot it back to back, I think. I don't know what you think, but one is good, two is poo 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 pants.
I only watched one. I've not watched part two because of
Ah,
how bad I heard things were. But I really enjoyed one. It took me a while to see it because I wouldn't say I'm scared of clowns, but they just give me the heebie-jeebies.
fair enough if
Um,
you are.
but luckily, I guess through the power of the internet, I saw a lot of the jump scares or like what his
Yeah.
sort of CGI face. So it was a little bit easier in that sense. But what I was surprised by, because I hadn't read the book either, I was really surprised
Mhm.
by the characterization of these kids
Yeah.
and their own personal like fear. And I thought I
Mhm.
was really really surprised at that. I thought that was really well done. And obviously that
Yeah.
must have been reflected in the book, but I've not read the
I,
book.
I
But
I think you're absolutely right. I think it's interesting that all the films we sort of talked about tonight share this through thread, which I think it does really well. Incidentally, it is another one where the director got up to some fucking hijinks on set. He would get
mm,
is it Skarsgård? He's a Skarsgård. What Skarsgård is he? Peter?
Stellan? No.
Ellen? We'll call him Jimmy. Jimmy Skarsgård.
Yes.
Would
Yes.
dress it. No. I think he's more of a. I
Oh,
think he's more
hello.
of a. I think he's more of a Mervyn. Mervyn Skarsgård
That's famous
would.
Swedish name. Yes.
Yes, Mervyn. Hello. Mervyn would be dressed up as it and would hide in the children's trailers
Yes, I did hear this. I did hear
and like
this.
jump out on them. And I kind of think in a way that's a bit shitty, but also just kind of fun. Like it's just been a bit ooh, it feels kind of innocent,
It's
just being a bit scary and giving kids a wee bit of fright. The kids kind of like that; they get excited by it. I think that's all cool. But
it's
I
not
think
Jared Leto being the Joker, putting dead rats in people's trailers.
yeah, I
That's the
mean,
line. That's the other
yeah.
side of the line.
What point? Like, who enjoys that? Did he enjoy that? If so, he should be in an institution. Like what?
Mm,
Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, you're such an edgelord, Jared. Yeah, well done. You know that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you know that while you were posting rats to people, you're the worst version of this on-screen character?
yep.
Maybe you should have tried a bit harder at work and spent less time mucking around, Jared, is what I would say if I was his teacher. But these films do share a through thread. They do. You can take the teacher out of the person, but you can't
Just a little
take the
slap
person
on
out
the
by
back of the
that.
hand. Just naughty.
That's it. Yes, yes, a little friendly slap. But these films share a through thread, which is they're all films like Candyman, It, Evil Dead, and Hellraiser are all films that break one major horror rule. And
Hmm.
I imagine someone like Becca, who's a big horror nerd, will probably will know the rule I'm getting at, which is, things are scarier the less you see of them,
Hmm.
which I think is complete bullshit. I think this is nonsense. This idea of well, you're going to see something, you see them open the door, there's nothing there, or you get a little glimpse of the alien's tail as it goes through there, or you can just hear it but you can't see it. Okay, fine, but Clive Barker, the director of Hellraiser, said a shocking enough image, a scary enough image will always be stronger than the thing you can imagine. Because the director, the writer, the camera person, the artists are professional imaginers. They will imagine the thing that you can't.
Mm,
They will manifest this terrifying thing that is
yes.
really grotesquely frightening. And if you think about Hellraiser, the stark images of
A
Frank
face
walking about
cut up.
yeah, like
Just
Frank walking
bits.
about with no skin, Evil Dead with like a headless corpse dancing in the garden, it with its fantastic scene where it's on the like the Polaroid picture things, the
Oh
carousel
yeah.
images are flipping around, and it's just coming at you. Okay, I can imagine that, or it can be like you could just show the kids reacting. But to see it is genuinely is more frightening. I don't
Yeah.
buy this idea that, you know, you can promise to deliver and deliver and deliver, but if you don't show it, it's like, you know, a handsome guy. It's like, imagine a Marvel movie without a gratuitous topless scene. Imagine a Marvel movie where Chris Hemsworth slowly starts to take his top off and then goes, nah. You can imagine it. It's
Got you.
much more effective if you imagine it. You go, fuck off, Chris. So yeah, I think these films all like totally deliver on their imagery, which is interesting that they're the films we've chosen to talk about.
Yeah,
Just
they're
think
not.
shows how effective it is. Yeah.
I think what I like as well, because they're not necessarily jump scares. I sort of touched on this with Becca the other week. Sort of say I think jump scares, yes, they'll make you jump obviously a little bit, but I think they're cheap. I think that they can sort of really lower the worth of that story, whatever they're trying to tell. But with these sorts of films, they show you that image you can't imagine, and then that's the sort of image that's imprinted in your mind.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's
just that's the thing that when you go to bed and you look in the corner of the room, you're going to see the face of Hellraiser or whatever it may be. You're not going to just think, oh, did that book move or what have you.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like when you're a kid and you catch a glimpse of a horror movie at night and you go to bed, there are two things that can happen. One, you can be in the dark and you can be like imagining things that are going to be there. There might be something over there. There might be something over there. There could be something under my bed. But for me, the most horrifying thing would be if I was a kid and I accidentally caught a glimpse of a horror movie and it was an image, and I went to bed, and even when I closed my eyes, that image of Tim Curry as it, or the xenomorph from Alien, or what have you, is just there, and it haunts your days and destroys your nights, and is just so bloody wonderful. I love it. But I mentioned earlier the thing called a looting bus. In terms of jump scares, now since we're talking about jump scares, and the looting bus is again, I'm sorry if this is me pure mansplaining to you.
I don't know what it
like
means.
A camera person, you
know
know these things. Please don't tell me to shut up. But a looting bus is the director Val Lewton, who made a lot of famous horror films in like the 50s. Yeah, films like The Cat People, which has been remade countless times. Not that great. He would do this thing where you'd have a character walking along alone at night, and they look behind them, and they can hear footsteps, and then they look behind them. That's very good, Queen. Yes, you're in the scene. Walk behind them, and you know it's tensions building. The strings are rising to a crescendo. Then all of a sudden, a bus screams by, and that became known as a looting bus in terms of a jump scare, which is tension, but then it's a non-threatening fright.
Yeah,
and I think that's kind of become the plague of horror films in a way, hasn't it? You know, it's like,
now you've said it, I've seen that so often
everywhere. The looting bus is absolutely everywhere, and you get a lot of people like John Carpenter, for example, who made Halloween, hates Val Lewton and hates the concept of a looting bus. He's like, no, all your frights should be payoffs. You know, you should have again an image or a moment or a kill or a whatever. You know.
Yeah. I'm learning on this chat. It's always good to learn these things.
Yeah, I'm just a nerd.
I mean,
total nerd.
Yeah, if that's the word you want to go with. During this time, people have been sort of discussing what Skarsgård's first name was. It went from Anubis said Stellan, Becca said it's Bill Skarsgård, MJ says Stellan is your man from Thor, aka Mamma Mia. So very different people. That's his dad. I mean, I would like to see a Mamma Mia It crossover. That could work.
Jesus God.
It the musical. Is there any horror that you could see as a musical? That's a question to you.
Well, there is a tradition of horror musicals. I'm not into musicals per se, like as a genre, in the same way I'm not into like sports movies per se. But like there's Rocky Horror, there's Repo, the genetic opera, which is one. There's one called not Stage Fright, The Devil's Carnival, which is apparently a famous one. I don't know. I've not really seen them. People who are in your chat might know more about them, but yeah.
Apparently it's an Evil Dead musical, says Becca.
What? Sorry, an Evil Dead musical?
Yes, yeah, apparently.
That could work. That totally
with
could
the slapped
work,
it, like, you know, like the play that goes wrong. Yeah. I can imagine that sort of feel.
I'm totally into that. Like, yeah, like a rock show type, a live rock show, Evil Dead.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
Yeah, maybe that's next.
Like Yeah, who knows? Something like Candyman as an opera, perhaps, could be pretty good.
Yeah, but then is it
Um,
Phantom of the Opera? A little bit too much, maybe. I don't know.
yes, yes, there we go. And Phantom of the Opera, of course, is a horror musical. There you go. I mean, horrific in many senses.
Oh,
But
yes, that's a whole other
yeah,
show. That is.
that is, yeah.
Crimp says that Jurassic Park 1 is almost a horror film to them because as a kid, the suspense is so damn palpable. I used to get up and run laps around the house when the raptors were hunting the kids in the kitchen. Again, like it doesn't have to be a horror film for you, well, especially when you're younger, for it to find it scary. It's that seeing that dinosaur's face or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I found The Mask. You know, in The Mask when Jim Carrey first transforms
Yeah,
and does the spin, I
it's
would
a great image.
I would sit behind the sofa. I was that
Yeah,
scared. I hated it.
totally, totally. Yeah, my aunt was famously terrified of Tom Baker's face in Doctor Who. She just thought he was this mad-looking guy, and that would really scare her. So, yeah, and like Jurassic Park, it crimps hit on a really interesting thing with Jurassic Park in terms of like old monster kind of B movies with giant ants,
Mm,
giant spiders, and dinosaurs, and these things are dead scary. And I know that if it wasn't Steven Spielberg doing Jurassic Park, it could be a really kind of bloody. It could be a really stark movie, but of course he brings his own sort of spin to it. Like I've not, I had read a bit of the original book of Jurassic Park, and it is really graphic in bits. It's very
oh, okay.
violent. Um, but I guess Steven Spielberg, because if I'm right in thinking, he wanted to make Jurassic Park like an anti-Holocaust movie, which sounds like quite a heavy subject matter, but
Mm,
I suppose it's worth touching on in terms of like what is scary to you, and of course, to him
mm,
being a Jewish person, that's horrifying, real life horror. And there's that great scene in Jurassic Park that is really evocative of that, and obviously you think of like the barbed wire fences and all this, but the most evocative bit is the bit where the boy uses an oven to hide from the velociraptor and kill it and like knock it out. And I think that speaks to how
uh,
these films can be used to as a catharsis. And I think horror movies are quite cathartic. They're
mm,
safe scares, they're safe
yeah.
places to explore even real world kind of things for Steven
Mm,
Spielberg, which is very horrible. And I think I remember Crimp saying very recently that he thought Steven Spielberg was overrated. So if Crimp's out there, I'd love to hear more about
oh,
that. I might agree with
oh,
him, but I don't know.
interesting. Yeah, sort of briefly touching on what you were saying, husband, I'd say very sort of similar. Again, I said this with Retchcora about like especially things like sci-fi, fantasy, horror are a space for people to talk about topics that are very much day to day and express
Yeah.
certain beliefs or relationships. Races are embodied in a different
Hmm.
way, and I think it
Hmm.
gives it like a safe space to do that.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Like Get Out, for example.
Mhm.
You know, the outsider status of horror. Guillermo del Toro once said, the outsider status of horror was so important. He said, if you ever get accepted by the mainstream, you've lost your mojo. And lo
Mm,
and behold, he's got an Oscar now, and I don't think Shapewater's that great. But like the fact
not
that
his
horror's,
best.
yeah, well, there you go. I've not seen it, but I will take your word for it. But because horror it has got outsider status. It's so adjacent from the mainstream that you can make a film like Get Out, which if it was a drama about racism and things like that, would be a hot topic for discussion, and every
Mm.
broadsheet would be
It'd be
talking about,
Oscar
and you
bait. That's what I tell you.
it
It'd
would
be, it'd
be
be Oscar bait.
Oscar bait. It would be considered Oscar bait by many people, but by making it a horror film, which less people are going to watch, it gets to have its own wee playground.
It was one of
It
those
gets
things that I saw it in the cinema, but the discussions were after it was like it was on DVD release or on demand. That's when people have had conversations about it. But I remember seeing it.
yeah.
I don't know why. I think I just went to see it. I think I was at university when it came out. I was like, this looks interesting. Gave it a go, and then ever since, I think it's had. Oh, actually, I'm going to watch this film, and I think everyone that I know that's seen it has thought it's brilliant.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, strangely enough, I'm not the biggest fan of the film. Just because I kind of being a horror film, I've seen that done in some respects before. There's a film on Shudder just now, if anyone has Shudder, called Spiral, which does almost the exact same thing as Get Out, and for me did it a bit more effectively in terms of the scares that are in it.
Mm,
But as my darling wife MJ pointed out to me, she's like, yeah, but watching Get Out from another perspective, like the African American perspective, like Steven Spielberg with Jurassic Park, watching that making that from the sort of a Jewish perspective, you are going to have a different experience with that film. You're going to find certain things scary that me as a white dude who's never experienced
mm,
racism probably isn't going to find scary. So I think that's an important thing to bear in mind when we're talking about these things.
mm-hmm. Yeah, of
But
course.
aye, cool.
Yeah, excellent. Are you okay, Wonga? Just a
Is
lot of
Wongo posting? Is he posting lots of Shreks?
no. It's just like 10 hydrates in a row. I think you'd like me to drown in this water.
Please
I'm
don't.
I'm perfectly hydrated. It's fine.
He's just flexing how many points he's got for your channel.
They're only 100 each.
They stack up though. They stack
I
up.
stuck up. So yeah, I guess I just wanted to get like your overall opinion on remakes as a whole. Is in terms of the horror generation at least, do you think it's sort of great? It brings it to like new audiences. Do you think they shouldn't happen? What's your sort of, I guess, like overarching opinion on that one?
I guess they bring it to new people. Like when I was I taught primary seven the year it came out, and it was all the kids would talk about, and I was like straddling this weird line of being a responsible adult in school, going, you really shouldn't be watching films like that, children, and me going, yes, like fucking get into it,
Mm,
like watch it. This is going to inform your tastes, and some of you might
yeah.
become filmmakers who are going to make the next big scary clown thing. And it happened, of course, it coincided with that the clown, the scary clown
Yes.
phenomenon that was going on at the time,
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh,
I remember that.
which was really great. Which instantly, because I'm a dweeb, because I'm a horror nerd, I know where that phenomenon comes from of the
Wasn't it
crazy
a
the
promo
clown.
for something else?
Not well, perhaps yes and no, but it originates. It's weird. It's weird. It's like a meme, right? It's like the traditional idea of something being mimetic, insofar as it's an idea that spreads, and it comes in waves, like round the world. So seeing like someone can Google this for me and tell me what year it was. I think it was in the 20s in Boston. It was a really famous train crash. Like a national tragedy in America in the 20s. There was this train crash. And this is actually why, not why, but this is where the phenomenon of the creepy clown comes from, right? Um, and in a way, it, Stephen King's It, and then the movies
Mm,
It, are people retelling this image, remaking this idea, this story of the scary clown, which originated in this point in history, which is in Boston in the 20s, this terrible train crash. Really, like a huge, like steam locomotive just charged into the station. Really bad, terrible tragedy. But the last few carriages of the train were part of a traveling circus, and
mm,
because the people of that time, especially sort of transient nomadic people who lived in the circus life, didn't carry identification and papers and passports and driver's licenses. When the train crashed, there was no way of like really kind of telling who was who. But what they could do was tell from costumes that these people had character names. These clowns and acrobats and performers and mimes had character names. So there is a graveyard in Boston for these people. It's quite a moving but also kind of haunting idea, and it's a graveyard where all the graves were just named after the clowns that they
oh,
found.
that's
And so
creepy.
there's graves that say like Bobo the clown and Tumble and whatever else. But there
Yeah.
was a survivor. There was a few survivors of this crash. One of whom was one of the circus performers, and he was one of the clowns. And so devastated was he by the tragedy that what he did was, all he had on him was his costume. Like he didn't have any possessions left after the crash. He salvaged his costume. That was it. So in mourning, he became a street performer in Boston that wandered around being the sad, scary clown. And he wore like black and white makeup, and it was all very kind of funereal. And people saw this and they thought it was terrifying. And all of a sudden in America, clowns went from being the height of comedy, which they would have been in the 20s. Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton were clowns at the end of the day. Chaplin even wore makeup. He wore
Mm,
grease paint and all this sort of stuff. They went and became this terrifying phenomenon. And then slowly, as people started to dress up for things like, Halloween and holidays and these sort of things, the creepy clown became a motif. And then you get Stephen King, who's born, I guess, I don't know if he was born, but he would only be born like 20, 30 years after this. He takes it and puts pen to paper. He remakes this story.
mm,
And then you have television. Tim Curry decides he's going to remake a character in a way, reiterate it, where it's going to be a bit more stark and a bit more scary. And then you get Mervyn Skarsgård, whatever his name is, and he takes it another direction, which is more nightmarish and primordial. And I think if you trace back the creepy clown to this origin point, the remakes, as it were, the proverbial remakes,
yeah.
are are marvelous stuff. They tell a much wider story. So I can't wait to see, like, the Candyman remake sequel will be something new. It will tell a story within the context of like Black Lives Matter, within the context of the surge in racism which we see in America and Britain, of course, and things like that. I think that'll tell a more poignant story than Bernard. Can't remember his last name.
Cribbins.
Bernard Rose. Bernard Matthews, Bernard Rose, who told the original one in the 90s when these things were less talked about. So I think remakes are powerful, and I think a good example is the story of the remakes of the creepy clowns.
Creepy clowns. Interesting. Yeah. Very interesting. I think it works possibly for the horror genre, but as you can see by the lower title beneath me, I'm, as a whole, in terms of the term remakes, I am not a fan. Talking about cinema as a wider sort of branch. Mainly because I think the first, not necessarily, but I guess the first film, its original sort of source, regardless whether it's good or not, it's got the originality, it's got the sort of stickability, it's got that sort of element. And I think sometimes
an original idea.
Yeah, it's the original sort of concept. And then I guess like whether they're good or not, it depends. It's up to you. But sometimes I think those things should just be left how they're made. One of the things
I get that.
I mean, I'm happy to see people's different sort of spin on things. I mean, like, why do we always see like Shakespeare plays? Like, why is that being remade constantly? But I'm always interested in like the different like modern versions or different gender swaps or something like that. That's interesting. Yeah. Let's not make exactly the same thing and again, which sometimes people do.
I agree. I agree with that. I agree with that point. I think we are cursed by the concept of the modern remake, which is let's make it glossier, let's get bigger actors, let's make it look more Michael Bay, and they lose the earthiness and the richness of the originals. But then again, if you go back a bit, there are examples of the remakes which are undeniably better. Like The Thing, for example, is a remake of The Thing from Another World from the 50s or whatever else. Little Shop of Horrors, the musical Little Shop of Horrors, is based on a Roger Corman horror movie with no songs in it and no humour in it whatsoever. And that's an improvement, that remake. There's not many, you're absolutely right, there's not many contemporary modern day examples of particularly good remakes or remakes that are better. But maybe if you dig, there are some, but hey, maybe they're the exceptions that prove the rule. So I think I totally agree with where you're coming from.
Yeah, it's a sweeping opinion. I mean, like like I said, I'm happy to be proved wrong, but it's probably only like 10 films or something that I would deem better than the original. I mean, when I was thinking about this, I thought the films were actually are good remakes, and the problem is, I think most people because a lot of the remakes, like even in the 50s, 60s, 70s, what people think are like, oh, my favourite film is Scarface, that's a remake. Oh, my favourite film's The Thing, that's a remake. My favourite film is The Maltese Falcon, that's a remake. Like, what most people's perception of, classic Hollywood or whatever it may be, they're all remakes themselves, like from either a black and white or a international film. So I found it quite hard to find films where I'd actually seen both the original and the remake. And there's only two films that I could think of, and you're probably going to laugh at me now, husband. The first one being Hairspray, and it's 2007 remake.
And do you think the John Travolta remake, is better than the original? I've seen neither.
Yes, I do. It's one of my favourite musicals. I've seen both films. I've seen it on stage multiple times. I think the second film is much better. And then the other film that I had was The Parent Trap, with the Lindsay Lohan one being the remake, and I think that's much better than the original.
Is the original a foreign language film, or is it an old sort of 50s, the black and white?
No, it's American. I can't remember the actress's name.
Okay. Not sure.
She was quite popular. Even when I type in Parent Trap, the first one that comes up is 1998 version. What does that say in itself? 1961. What was the actress's name? Hayley Mills.
Okay.
You know who that is?
No. I'm not too au fait with.
If you saw her face, you'd know what she looked like.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's the problem. Like, oh, I don't like remakes, but then I've not necessarily seen like all the originals to validate that opinion. To say, oh, that film's
Well, that's
definitely a
true,
little
but you
bit.
do know, you do know what you like, and when you watch a remake and
Yeah.
go, "This is shit," then you know, aye, it's not good. It's not good, and chances are that you might not like the themes or whatever, but the original will be a different style. That's
Hmm.
why they remade it. So you go with your gut on these things. You're probably right. If your gut tells you, I'm not a fan of remakes, there's no
Mm.
need for some asshole to come along and be like, well, actually, did you not know that there's all these remakes which you actually really like? Fuck that. What's the
Mm.
point? What's the point?
Yeah. Of course. Of course. Um, I guess you could say, sort of looking at other sort of things to come out in terms of a wider thing. We spoke about like Candyman coming out,
Mm-hmm.
Hellraiser, The Exorcist, and all this sort of new stuff coming out. In terms of general wider cinema that has those, I don't want to call them like sequel films, remakes, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
We have Blade Runner, which is getting a revamp
Yeah. That's an interesting one.
with
Like
Mahershala
MJ, for
Ali.
example, are they doing another remake with Mahershala Ali in it?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Oh, wait, did you said Blade?
Oh, Blade. What did I say?
I know. I misheard you. I thought you said Blade Runner, and I was like, "Oh, they're doing another
Oh
Blade
no,
Runner, right?"
meant to
Blade.
say
Yes,
Blade.
I get you. Okay, sorry, my bad. I misheard you. I'm sorry.
But yes, so I'm excited for that because again, I feel like I've just watched films. Like I've only watched films this year, but I watched the Blade trilogy this year as well.
Mm-hmm.
And First one, great. Second one,
Yeah,
different but cool. It's Del Toro,
yeah,
so it's
yeah,
different.
yeah, yeah.
Third
It's
one,
not bad.
disaster, absolute
Third one is the one of the
shocker.
I saw the third one in the cinema, and was just like, "Oh no, no! Why have you ruined this?" Yeah, it's truly terrible. I agree. I agree.
So I'm excited to see that.
Yeah,
I'm excited what they do with that one.
if nothing else, like the lead actor is fantastic. So you know you're going to get, like, there's some actors, and again,
Mm,
you know more about films, so you'll know whether this is a nonsense statement. But for me, there are some actors for whom their mere inclusion of a film
hmm.
guarantees it's going to be of a certain quality. Do you know what I mean? Like, it might not be the best film you've ever seen, but it's not going to be the worst.
Yeah,
There's a
there's some
few
actors
actors
I
I think that
trust.
one.
I can like
Aye.
I know that I'm not a massive Batman fan, but I will go and
Mm-hmm.
watch the Robert Pattinson one because I know he's a good actor.
Aye,
So
he is.
I'm
Like, see what you like
interested.
about Twilight and all those early years. I could point out, Jack Nicholson's first film is a complete fucking awful movie. Do you know what I mean? Like, you look at him in something like, even like Cosmopolis, which isn't a particularly great film, Map to the Stars, which isn't a particularly great film. He's good in them. There ain't no denying it.
Mm,
So fair play. Yeah, I agree.
yeah, so it makes me excited when you follow an actor or actress and just sort of that's something out of like their comfort zone, but it
Hmm.
brings you into different things. I mean, I'm sure that's how many people get into like the Avengers films or I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
Star Wars. They bring in more sort of mainstream actors into it, so you sort of follow who you like, and
Hmm.
that broadens your horizon, hopefully.
Is there
Um,
a film out there that you think should be remade?
ooh,
That you're like, that's very dated now. It's ripe for a remake or something like that.
I'm trying to think of older films. I'll be honest, in reality I've not seen that many sort of your quote unquote black and white films. I've not seen.
Sure,
I've,
sure, sure.
I've probably
Yeah.
seen like a few Hitchcocks. I've seen Casablanca,
Hmm.
Wizard of Oz when it became Technicolor. It's probably
Yeah.
about it, to be honest. So I guess I'd have to think more like 60s, 70s in terms. Um, I'm not really sure, to be honest. Have you got one to mind that you're thinking of?
No, no. I remember recently there was a film I saw, and I was like, "Oh man, this is so ripe for a remake."
Mm.
Oh, I know. I remember what it was. I would like to see a remake of Event Horizon. I'm
I
not
don't
sure
think I've
if
seen it.
you've seen that. It's
No.
like an amazing concept. It's a bit like it's not like the Purge movies, but it's like the Purge movies insofar as it's a great idea with terrible execution. Do
Do
you
you
know
know
what I
the
mean?
funniest thing? I was speaking
Okay.
to Dreadnought, who is a fellow streamer. We were talking about. I was talking about Hellraiser. I said, "Oh, I watched Hellraiser today,"
Mm-hmm.
and he said
Mm-hmm.
something, and somehow we linked to this film. And he said this film was absolutely bizarre. And he said, "Oh, Sam Neill's in it." I was like, "Oh, okay, interesting." Um,
Yes. Oh, that's so weird. We have come full circle. Event Horizon is Hellraiser in space.
okay, maybe that's why he said it then.
Yeah, yeah. It's an amazing idea with bad, fairly bad effects, fairly ropey performances. But the idea is just so the concept when it's explained, I always found very scary. And there's one or two scenes that nail it and are really scary. And it's made by Paul W.S. Anderson, who makes like the Resident Evil movies.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not a director, so far be it from me to poo-poo the guy's work, but they're not the best. They're not the best films, you know. And Event Horizon, aye, that's what I would remake if, like,
Mm.
if we can get the crowdfunding together, Queen. You
Yeah,
must know a good sound person. You're a good camera person. I
yeah.
am neither a good writer nor director, but that's never stopped Paul W.S. Anderson from making his one. So I say, cast MJ in the lead,
Yeah,
get Retro Cora and Dreadnought to dress up as monsters.
Becca needs to be
Becca,
in there.
Becca, I think Becca is like the Vasquez type character from Alien. She's got a bandana on and a big gun.
Mm, mm.
We kill off finitely Craig in the first scene. I'm joking, Craig. I love you. But I'm riffing here. I'm joking, but it is a film that's right for a remake.
Yes.
20%, 100%.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good shout. And nothing really jumps to mind. Um, hmm. I can't
It's a
even
hard question.
think. Yeah, you should have told me this one before.
It just came to mind. It just came to mind. You should send me a wee message, and if and when it springs to mind. It's weird because like there are so many films that are sort of being remade, and yet
Yeah.
are like not like I always think of like The Dark Knight being like a modern remake of like Heat or like The Big Sleep or something, you
Mm,
know, in terms of the way it's shot. I watch it and go, oh, if you like this, you should love that movie.
yeah.
And but do you know what? Maybe it's a generational thing. Maybe you're not going to like Heat if you're born after the year 1990. Do you know what I mean?
Those sort of films do not personally appeal to me. In
Nor
terms
me.
of
Traditional gangster movies don't. Yeah, nor
not
me.
my cup of tea. Gangster
I
and
do love Heat though.
cowboy films, not mine.
Yeah, westerns are a weird one. I've seen a very good horror western called Bone Tomahawk,
Bone
which
Tomahawk.
is good. Kurt Russell and Jack from
Oh,
Lost getting some work. Remember that guy?
yeah.
Him getting some work, and it's about like the cannibals in the mountains, and it's good. It's
Ooh,
good. It's pretty gnarly, but it's excellent. Worth a
sounds
watch.
good. Oh, it's got Patrick Wilson in as well, who was obviously in The Conjuring. And
Yes.
what's it called? The other one, Insidious.
Aye, Patrick Wilson is he's an actor for whom his inclusion in something I think means it's got a level of quality. Like the Conjuring movies are not the best horror movies, I don't think, but they're very classy, and
Mm,
he's quite melodramatic in them. He kind
yeah,
of nails a sort of particular style. So yeah, he's one of those actors for me. I think. Yeah.
definitely. What are people saying? Maniac Cop could be a good remake, says Becca. That was already a surprisingly good film, but I fear there's more
Yes,
now that can be said about the fear of police that it leans to. I've not seen
that's a
that film.
fucking great point. That's a great point. Maniac Cop is cool. Maniac Cop is weird. It's kind of
Is it RoboCop?
grimy. No, it's not. RoboCop, of course, has been remade and it's a terrible remake. That's a good point,
Oh,
actually.
I've just googled
Um,
it. Oh, it looks horrible. Don't like
yeah,
it.
it looks weird. Maniac Cop is cool. That's a good shout, Becca.
Blech.
Yeah, because that's shown its age, isn't it? It's dated in terms of like just the way it looks and stuff. Yeah, no, that's
That
clever.
that sort of makeup is like in there with my worst fears. I really struggled watching The Thing whenever I watched it a couple of years ago because
Mm-hmm.
and that was what as soon as I put Hellraiser on, I was like, oh no, that sort of like you said before, like gooey, rubbery.
Gooey.
It does something that I do not like. Makes my stomach turn.
Again, yeah, again, like we said earlier, it kind of gives you a phobia you never knew you had, which is
Mm,
great. You discover it, you go, oh my God, I didn't know I didn't like this.
yeah,
Which
it
is cool.
gives
Which is
it
very cool.
makes me feel bleh. Becca wouldn't say no to an Event Horizon remake.
Becca, let's do it. I'm telling you, let's do it.
We just need
Can't be
100
any worse than the
million.
original. No, it's not. Ah, give or take.
Event Horizon, no Lawrence Fishburne, Sam Neill, Sean Pertwee, and Jason Isaacs. That's a good cast, really.
Yeah,
I guess maybe it just
it's a
wasn't
good.
pulled off.
Yeah, it's a great cast, like poorly directed. Like Jason Isaacs, I love, and he's an actor who I think he's in something you know it's going to be quite good, and he's got a really great character who can speak Latin and you know hints to this mysterious past, but he's got like this weird accent that kind of goes from Irish to English to by way of Cardiff, by way of Peebles. It doesn't. I don't know what's going on there. Whoever told him to do that, and but it's dead scary. The idea is so.
Get bone tomahawk in the sea. It's actually gruesome, says Cora. I don't know if they mean setting it in the sea or like get it in the bin. I don't know. What world? There you go.
Bone Tomahawk is pretty gnarly. It's pretty gnarly. The guy who made Bone Tomahawk has made 2 other films, which are like one of which is like offensively violent and like the worst language I've ever heard in a film ever, and one called Brawl in Cell Block 99, which is Vince Vaughn action movie, which is pretty good, but again pretty dark and pretty gnarly. Yeah.
I see Patrick Wilson and raise you Aquaman/Watchmen. Oh, he was in Aquaman, wasn't he, as well? Oh god, he was.
Yes, but I haven't seen Aquaman, but MJ says that he's at least having fun in Aquaman and is quite a decent enough like swashbuckly villain. I've not seen it. And Watchmen, the Watchmen movie is terrible. Right, it is terrible. And a lot of his scenes aren't great, especially with Silk Spectre. But it is a quite endearing Night Owl. Like, I kind of felt very sorry for him. I think he did bring a sort of charm to it, where the rest of them were all being quite edgy or whatever else in that film. I get it. Like, I do agree, but I like Patrick Wilson.
I don't think he's had his best role yet. I think he's still got more to give.
Yeah, he's quite good in Hard Candy, I suppose. But yeah, I think you're right. I think he's yet to have his like career defining. Hey, do you know what? Maybe for an actor, you don't need a career defining role. You just want a career, you know. And maybe he's just happy to be like a jobbing actor, you know,
not
like
looking for the
like
Oscars, just going for it.
Aye, maybe not. Do you know what I mean? Just happy to just fucking get on it, you know.
Having fun, paying the bills, you know, life's good. Ocean's 11 is the best remake ever. I've seen the first Ocean's 11 film, and I stopped.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Ocean's 11 original is very boring, isn't it? Yeah, that's a good show. Who said that? That's a very good. I agree with that.
Someone that's new, I've never seen before, called Ronaldo is the GOAT.
Hello, Mr. Ronaldo is the GOAT, or person, lady, sir. Ronaldo is the GOAT. Yeah, no, Ocean's 11 remake is great. Ocean's 12 and 13, I remember being pretty poor, and I never saw the new sequel, but I heard it wasn't great.
Oh, I saw Ocean's 8. It wasn't good. There was good elements, but nah.
Okay.
Again, just come up with an original concept. Diet Punk, hello, welcome in. How you doing?
Hello.
Jason Isaacs is Scouse, isn't he? I don't think he was. I think he speaks very much the Queen's English now.
But he is Northern, I'm sure. He's so in Death of Stalin. I wonder if he must be doing an accent.
Maybe.
But he has got a Northern accent in it. That's worth a Google. Where is Jason Isaacs?
Do you ever get confused with Jason Isaacs and Oscar Isaacs? Was that just me? Just the names, not obviously looking at them, but I'm like, is this Jason or Oscar?
It's yet to happen, but I have a feeling now, Queen, it's going to happen every time. So thank you for that. There's one takeaway from this evening, so I'm going to mix up Jason Isaacs and Oscar Isaacs, yes.
Because I originally knew Jason Isaacs because of Harry Potter and like Peter Pan when I was younger. And then Oscar Isaac comes on the scene. And I think the first thing I saw him in was probably like Ex Machina or something like that. I was like, who's this Oscar Isaac? Who's that Jason? I'm confused. And ever since last 5 years, I don't know who's who.
Did you not know that Oscar Isaacs is Jason Isaacs' cousin? Did you
no,
not
he's
know
not.
That?
No, that's a lie. That's
it
an
is.
absolute
Yes,
lie.
it's true.
Absolute lie.
True. If you're in the chat, please confirm. It's true.
Lie.
True.
He's from Liverpool. Jason Isaacs is from Liverpool.
Exactly.
He doesn't sound.
Oscar Isaacs is from Liverpool. Yes, I told you that. You didn't believe me, Queen.
He doesn't
And
sound very
Jason Isaacs.
Scouse. I don't think so.
Do you know what? Maybe he's just doing a Scouse. Maybe he's just doing his Scouse accent in Event Horizon. Ah, that might be what it is. You just never hear Scouse accents in Hollywood, do you?
That is true. I mean, is there any famous Liverpudlian actors that keep their accent?
No.
Probably you get a few like English things that I feel like you'd see it in like This Is England or something like that.
Oh, so Stephen Graham. He's the only one. But in his Hollywood movies,
he loses it.
He does that weird New York thing.
That generic American accent.
He does that generic public thing he does in Public Enemies, which is just an American accent. We're in America, it doesn't matter. Stephen just doing an American accent. Gear.
Thank you very much for the follow. Ronaldo is the GOAT.
Hello,
around.
Ronaldo. Yeah.
Where were we? I have forgotten. The A-Team remake. I didn't watch the A-Team remake, if that's what you're talking about, Cora.
Is that a remake?
Was there any TV show? It was the TV show, wasn't it?
So that's interesting. If you make a film of a TV show, is that a remake? If you use, I suppose you use different cast and everything like that. But like
Scooby-Doo movie.
Would we say that was a remake of Scooby-Doo? Would we? I think we could. I don't know, Cora. We can argue about that in real life. I don't know. Good points, well made. Great minds battling it out here, and I've got a front row seat. I love it.
I'm not going to say what MJ said then, because she thinks she needs to hydrate. Is what I'm saying.
What is she saying?
It's not about you, husband. Don't.
What is it then? No, I have a right to know. I demand to know what my wife is saying about other men. It's about Jason Isaacs and Oscar Isaacs.
It's Patrick Wilson. I'm really sorry, but Patrick Wilson is just the absolute daddy.
I mean, I've been spending the whole time going about how great he is. I concur. I think he is an absolute and a daddy, not the daddy. He's a daddy.
A daddy.
He's. I'll put it this way: he's no Scott on fire. That's all I'm saying.
Ooh. That's a big statement. That is.
I'll see you in the VOD, Scott.
I used to think that Emma Stone and Dwight from the US Office were related for some reason.
Emma Stone and Rainn Wilson. Is that because they both got slightly elemental names? Stone and Rain. Perchance.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Sean Connery kept his accent. Not in James Bond.
Did he though? Because I don't know many Scottish people that speak like that, you know. they don't really. No Scottish people have that sort of accent where they say, I'm just going to go and have a martini. You know, Scottish people are like, all right, mate, can I get one of fucking drinks? You get that one there with the olive in it? Aye, geez, a wee drink with an olive in it. They wouldn't say I'm going, oh, no, not all Scottish people are cheeky. That's not what I mean. I don't mean that. But like, that's an
I'm not saying these words, people.
Yeah, I'm digging my own grave here. No, but like, Sean Connery's accent's an affectation. He's just trying to sound. It's like if I was an actor, I'm not going to talk like this. I'm going to talk like this, probably, like Ewan McGregor or one of these other actors, or James McAvoy, who kind of has to tone it down a little bit just so that people can sort of understand what he's saying. And I think that's absolutely fair enough when if you talk with a normal Scottish accent, it's quite hard to understand what you're saying. Yes, but Sean Connery, you do impressions, Queen? I mean, I don't really do impressions. You must do. You watch a lot of films. You must be able to imitate some people.
Not specific people. I could do a general accent, but I don't think I could do I don't know.
So
Jason Isaacs.
If and when me and Becca remake Event Horizon and we give you a cameo in it, what would you? And you have to be American. The director says.
But what region of America?
You're asking again. You're overthinking it. Stephen Graham doesn't go like what region? What region do you want me to do? Like I'm not gonna fucking just do an American accent. He just does like a. What are you talking about, eh? What are you talking about? You know, he does that sort of thing. So just American, Queen, don't overthink it. Just go.
I can't just say a phrase. I feel like I need to read something. I need to have a conversation.
Your line is, this ship is haunted, get me out of here. Which is what the film's about.
Oh God, this is too much pressure. I can't picture an American accent. Everything's melting in my head. What was it? The ship is melting.
The ship is haunted. It's not melting. The ship is Event Horizon's about a haunted spaceship, effectively. This ship is haunted. Get me out of here. Okay. And action.
Oh my God, the ship is haunted. I don't know. I'm trying
That was
to get.
that's it. That's it. We've nailed it.
Clip it. End of it. Let's see you later. Bye.
And the Academy Award goes to Queen of the North,
Yes. First and
presented by
last name.
Sean Connery. Tonight's award is for a very beautiful Queen from the North, and she's done a fantastic performance as a scientist number one in the remake of Event Horizon.
Every time you do that accent, all I think of is the guy from Goldmember, Austin Powers. You know, that eats the skin.
You like a sugar in the crib? A bong and a biscuit? I
Bong
love
and
gold. That's yeah.
Oh God, how have we got to this point?
I to this point, aren't we?
Yeah. What people saying? Cora said, I argue strongly a remake of the original TV show. I'll fight you. Oh, the A-Team. That's what we're talking about.
You would win in a fight, to be honest, Cora. So I'll defer to your judgment on that one. Yes, I think it probably. Okay, yeah, of course it's a remake. Of course.
Sure.
Of course.
If you believe it's a remake, it's a remake.
Yes. 100%.
Who do you think is a better actor, Dwayne Johnson or John Cena? Oh, this is really off topic, but
fuck sake. I mean, that's like, what do you want? Semolina or, muesli? It's like, oh, neither, thanks.
Both meh.
I guess like they both have, despite they play predominantly ruthless killers in their films, like they're always blowing up cars with people in them and throwing guys off buildings and stuff, they have a very wholesome feel. They're a
family man. They're a family man.
Like they're family men. They feel like the uncles that come round at the barbecue. That your dad keeps at an arm's length because they're a bit rough and they've seen some things, but they've got cool stories. So wholesome yet ruthless. I guess if I had to pick one, be The Rock, because John Cena.
You can't see him.
Sorry,
you can't see John Cena. That's the whole thing, isn't it?
You can't see him. What do you mean you can't see him? You can't see John Cena? Is that a thing? Well, I don't get it.
Everyone that gets that reference besides your husband is just going to just go mad in the chat. There's the whole thing in his wrestling career that he was like this, so you can't see me.
Oh, I don't watch wrestling. I don't watch
wrestling, and I know that.
You're a liar. You've shown your true colours there. You've shown your true colours. Bet you're an Undertaker fan, Queen. I can tell a mile away.
I tell you what, I sort of watched wrestling because I was very much like a tomboy when I was younger, and for some reason I remember having a wrestling scooter. So it was a black scooter, and on it, like the little handlebar, it had like WWE like things.
We've gone from I don't watch wrestling to, well, I kind of watched it as a child, to I had a wrestling scooter. I mean, come on. Lie upon lie. You're getting it. Do you know what I mean? It's like saying, I didn't really watch Batman. I just had like all the movies on Blu-ray, and then I had a Batmobile when I was a kid.
Yeah, but like when you're a kid, you just do what the trends are. Like I collected Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I had no idea how to play them.
But you still like Yu-Gi-Oh, like you like Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever it's called, and you like wrestling. It's fine, Queen.
I just collect. I like collecting things. I love collecting things. I used to collect magnets, bottle caps, watches. I was a weird only child.
Maniac.
I'm a magpie, okay?
I used to collect people. It's like, what? No, fair play. Yeah, no, I get that. I get all that. That's all good. Yeah. And so now you collect films.
Sort of. Don't really buy DVDs or Blu-rays anymore.
Do you pirate them legally, Queen?
No, I use Prime, Netflix. That's it. I did buy some Blu-rays a couple of months ago. Have not watched any of them. I bought 5 and not watched them.
Oh, well.
What does that say? Physical media is dead.
Fair play. Shots fired. Bad take.
Bad take Tuesday. The Rock's better, but he's hamstrung himself. I don't think that's a word, Cora.
No. Like do you mean he's painted himself into the one role?
Yeah, it goes on to say he's been typecast, which 100% is true. Yes, he has been typecast.
John Cena, maybe? Oh, I don't know.
I guess you got Dave Bautista as well. He's a wrestler. A bit more diverse.
Hulk Hogan.
Oh, God.
He didn't really do much. Yeah.
Husband's not a wrestling man, says Cora. All right, we found that out.
I'm not a wrestling man, but I certainly would like to wrestle a man. So if anyone's watching, my contact details can be found below. No, I'm joking. No, I'm not a wrestling man. I liked some wrestling when I was wee, but I've yet to see a wrestler who I've thought has successfully made the leap from, from wrestling to cinema. Although I do like the film The Wrestler.
I've not seen that, but I've heard good things. Mickey
That's
Rourke.
Cool. Mickey Rourke, yes, there we
His
are.
poor face.
Yes, the great comeback story that then turned into not a comeback. But hey, he had like that one good film for a while, which is fine.
Oh my God, what is wrong with Twitch chat? The disowning of wrestling saddens me. I'm part of the Pro Wrestling Studies Association.
Who's that?
Retrocora.
You're part of the Pro Wrestling Studies Association. What does that
in terms of history?
You study wrestling. Do you know what I mean? Like you study like the as a sport, or you study the history of wrestling? I feel like this is a topic for another time, but I'm very interested. I'm very interested in the
next time.
We're not disowning wrestling. We're just not fans, apart from Queen, who bloody loves it.
I didn't. All I remember is The Rock when he had hair. That's about as far as I remember.
And an eyebrow.
Yeah, he's got
people's
that.
eyebrow. He did that a lot. That's really good, actually. I can see it on my screen.
I can only do it on one eyebrow. I can't do it the other way.
Quite hard, isn't it?
It's just the left one.
We lack eyebrow dexterity.
Yeah. Also, my thumbs are very... If I do a thumbs up, that's my natural thumb pose.
So is mine.
Just bend back. But I'm not...
Mates.
I can't do that. Yeah. People like that. Nah.
Yeah, like one of these.
Bridge too far. Yeah.
Like that's a film. That Bridge Too Far is a film. We're back to talking about films again, which is kind of.
Oh, that's what we were doing. Oh,
that's what we're meant to be doing.
Oh shit! Yeah. Films. Love being derailed. Excellent. No, I like seeing the chat and hearing what other people have to say, even though we've gone down a wrestling wormhole. Oh gosh, right. I don't think I had any more points, to be honest, husband. Unless you had any other sort of further notes, remarks, questions, general thoughts.
No, I think it's good. We got to chat about these sorts of things. I think we sort of covered everything. I suppose it's a good opportunity for me to say thank you for wanting to listen to me, Queen, and having to put up with me talking. I had to put up with me talking for a while. So fantastic. I was right into it. Brilliant stuff.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's been great having you on. A lot of people were excited to have you on here to hear what you have to say about films, especially horror films. Yes.
I could talk about it for a long time, so it's as well that I don't. But I could.
Well, you could easily, very easily. But yeah, no, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. We've digressed. We've covered everything I wanted at the same time, but
we're remaking Event Horizon.
We're remaking Event Horizon with everyone in the chat.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a community project, so we'll get a Kickstarter going. Looking to shoot it in late 2022.
Late 2022.
December 31st.
It'd be really funny if we got a cease and desist from 20th Century Fox or something place. It's like, our lawyers are getting in touch with you to say you do not own the rights to any of the Event Horizon properties or intellectual rights. That would be funny. I mean, it would be scary, but it would also be funny.
Yeah, I mean, they might get a bit of a buzz around it. This really.
Yeah.
Any press is good press, as they say.
Big studio come after small independent filmmaker. Isn't this terrible? We'll have a BuzzFeed article within the week.
Yeah, and there'll be a quiz about us, find out which sort of indie filmmaker you are, things like this. So we'll start the ball rolling now, and we'll see you all in court in January 2023.
Excellent. Love it.
But yeah, so thank you everyone for stopping by. I've had good times. If you guys want to get involved, do let me know. Message me on Discord, message me on whatever form of social media you would like, within reason. Not Mumsnet, I'm not on that. And
why not?
I'm not on
I'm on Mumsnet. As a lot of men like to do, go on Mumsnet.
Apparently so. Thank you very much for stopping by, everyone. Becca's About Games, Cora, Crimp, Wongo, MJ, thank you very much for all popping by. Like I said, if you're interested in film or like you want to talk about a specific film, I've not done one yet. We've talked about a specific film or director. But if you'd like to do that, do let me know. But I do have the next one planned, so I'll give you a little bit of a little Easter egg treat now. So the next one will be with Snorbuckle, who is a fellow streamer. And when I first spoke to Snorbuckle, we somehow came across our admiration for Jake Gyllenhaal. So that one will be a focus on Jake Gyllenhaal's career. So if you're excited for that one, that'll be in 2 weeks' time.
Good choice. Good choice.
But yeah, it gives me an excuse to watch his films again, to be honest.
What's your favourite Jake Gyllenhaal film?
Well, that's giving away the game there, husband. It might change though. I can't say one because it depends. Every performance is different. Nightcrawler, excellent.
Nightcrawler's brilliant. Yeah, Nightcrawler's good.
What else do I like?
You want to win the lottery, you ought to work hard enough to buy a ticket.
Exactly. Steady hands, steady hands. I say that every time at work. I'm holding a camera. I'm like,
steady hands. Riz Ahmed. Was he? I heard he was originally cast as Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and then pulled out maybe to make Donnie Darko or something. Is that sounds like it could be true? I don't know if it is true, but I heard that.
I've never heard that rumor. Never heard of that one.
Probably bullshit.
Probably bullshit. Yes.
Probably bullshit.
Yes. Cora says, I love the idea of getting a round table of people to talk about someone's career. Get a round table on for an Arnie retrospective.
I think we should definitely have a round table to talk
about. A round table would be
Cora's
cool.
Career. I think it'd be great. We can talk about Retro Cora's career in wrestling, his career in academia,
my scooter, you know,
and we can talk about where his career's going from here. And if he's really got his head in the clouds, I think that's a good. I'm joking, but I would like that.
Yeah, but no, like a group discussion could be cool about, you know, more of a specific thing. That could be almost not like a book club, but like a film club. We could, you know, let's all watch this film and then have a panel discussion or something. I don't know.
Friday night film club sounds good.
Yeah. People are excited for Jake Gyllenhaal. Apparently, Zodiac is good. End of Watch is my favourite. End of Watch is also very good. People are just having chats with Inks themselves. Crimp wants to have a chat with you, apparently.
Oh yes, Crimp and I are about to chat after this about something. So Crimp, I will Discord you ASAP.
Right, let's. Actually, no, I'll let you go first, husband. Before we do the raid. If that's okay, I will bid you adieu. But thank you very much for coming on. I'm sure, like I said, husband doesn't stream, but you'll see him in amongst chats on the interwebs. So yes, he'll be there. Stop to him and ask him about certain films. So
please do.
Thank you much for being here, husband.
Thank you, Queen. It was a pleasure. I will love you and leave you. Will I hit disconnect or will I wait until you've done some sort of fancy scene change swap thing?
Wait till I've done the scene change and then
I'll do that. Okay.
I'll figure it out.
I'll sit here very still and wait.
Yes, and then you'll be able to hear me, so then I'll give you the signal. Ready?
Okay. Right.
Okay. You're free. Free to leave. Oh no, I heard you. They didn't hear you. That's okay. Right. There we go. Yes, thank you everyone for stopping by this evening. Had a lovely time with husband and everyone that popped by, all the lovely discussions. And if we can pass on the good vibes onto someone else, that'd be great. So let's just have a look and see who is on. Blah 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 blah. Thanks for the stream, you two hot tamales. Well, Crimp, thank you very much. You can tell husband that yourself. Maguire's going to drop out Spider-Man 2 for a couple of reasons, and Gyllenhaal was lined up for to replace it. Oh, okay. I see. Who's on? Da 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 da. Who is on? Thank you very much for stopping by, Cora. I will hopefully see you soon on the interwebs. Let's go. There's so many people. Oh, I know. Let's go and see Spooky Spoonie, just because I love her name. I think it's a good name. Spooky. That's not how you spell Spoonie, Sarah. There we go. So please stick around for the raid, guys, if you are able to, and we'll go over and see Spooky, who is playing Devour. And I think we did stream into her before last time when she was playing this, and this was a little bit spooky. And you know what I'm like with spooky games? Not brilliant. But yeah, thank you everyone for stopping by. I'll be back next week, Tuesday, possibly. Should be Tuesday. Should be a normal Tuesday. And then we'll see. I think we'll finish Until Dawn next week. That's the priority. Other for the rest of the week, I do not know. But thank you very much for stopping by, everyone. Thank you very much, Becca. I'm glad you had fun, and we had a good time. A good time. MJ, cheerio, everyone. Goodbye, everyone. Let's go say goodbye to Spooky Spoonie.